The Garden of Eden, a story of life, love, and purpose. In the beginning, after the heavens and the earth were shaped by the voice of God Himself, after light was spoken into being and the oceans took their place, after the skies were stretched like a tent above the world and every creature had its breath, God rested. That rest was not because He was tired. No, the Almighty does not grow weary, but because His work of creating the universe was whole and complete. The stars were hung, the oceans roared, the trees danced in the wind. But now the focus shifted from the vastness of space to the intimacy of earth, from the wide sweep of creation to one special place, from forming galaxies to forming the human heart. The second chapter of Genesis tells not just how the world came to be, but how humanity came to life. Not just the making of matter, but the making of meaning. A world watered by mist. At that time, there were no fields of crops, no farmers to tend them. The land was wild and untouched. Rain had not yet fallen, for the cycle of seasons had not begun. Instead, a gentle mist rose from the earth each morning, wrapping the soil in dew and watering it softly, like the breath of God Himself preparing the ground for something divine. It was a sacred silence. Creation waited. Formed from dust, filled with breath. Then, in the midst of this quiet waiting, God did something that had not been done with any of the stars or planets or beasts before. He stooped down. He gathered the dust of the earth, not gold, not silver, not gemstones, but common soil, the humblest of materials. Yet what He was about to create would carry the image of the divine. With careful hands, He shaped a figure, a body, a vessel, arms, legs, eyes, fingers, a heart. When He was finished forming the man, there was still no life in him. But then God leaned close as a mother to her newborn or a shepherd to a lamb, and He breathed. God breathed His own breath, the breath of life, into the man's nostrils. And suddenly Adam inhaled. His chest rose, his heart beat, his eyes fluttered open. He sat up, and the first thing he saw was the face of his Creator. Life had begun. No longer just dust, Adam was now a living soul, handcrafted by God and animated by the Spirit of the Lord. Eden, the garden of delight. God placed Adam in a special home, a place He had prepared with beauty and purpose. Eden, a name that means delight. This was no ordinary garden. It was filled with vibrant colors, sweet scents, and flowing rivers that brought life to everything they touched. Trees grew there, not just for food, but for wonder. Some bore fruit that tasted like honey and sunshine. Others gave shade that soothed the skin. The garden was a tapestry of creation in perfect balance. At the center of the garden stood two trees unlike any other. The tree of life, which gave eternal vitality, a gift from God Himself. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Powerful and mysterious, marked as sacred. A boundary, a choice, a test. God gave Adam a clear instruction. You may freely eat from every tree in the garden. He said, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you must not eat, for on the day you eat from it, you will surely die. It was a simple command, but one filled with deep meaning. God was giving Adam freedom with responsibility, trust with limits, relationship with respect. Trust or work as worship. Many today think of work as a curse, a burden to bear. But in Eden, before sin ever touched the world, Adam was given a task. God asked him to attend and keep the garden, to care for it, nurture it, and cause it to flourish. This was not labor as punishment, but work as worship. The garden was God's creation, and Adam was its steward. Every time he watered a plant or named an animal, he was partnering with God, walking in purpose. The search for a companion. Time passed in the garden. Animals walked by. Lions with manes like fire, birds with wings like stained glass, rivers that whispered stories as they ran through the land. Adam gave names to every creature: antelope, eagle, ox, fox, each one unique, but none quite like him. And God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone." This was the first time in all of creation that something was described as not good. Not because of a flaw in design, but because God knew what Adam needed: companionship, love, a partner. So God caused a deep sleep to come over Adam, deeper than any night's rest. And while he slept, God took one of Adam's ribs, not from his head to rule over him, not from his feet to be beneath him, but from his side, close to his heart. From the rib, God fashioned a woman, not molded from dust like Adam, but built from living flesh, carefully, lovingly. She opened her eyes to the world and saw Eden, the rivers, the sky, and then she saw Adam. When Adam awoke and looked at her, his heart sang, "This one, yes, bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man." And so, the first human relationship was born, not of convenience, but of divine design, a divine union rooted in love, made for partnership, joy, and intimacy. Naked and unashamed, Adam and the woman, later called Eve, stood in the garden together, hand in hand, heart to heart. They were naked, but they felt no shame. Why? Because there was no sin, no fear, no hiding, only truth, only trust, only love. They walked with each other, and they walked with God. Can you imagine it? Hearing the voice of God like the wind in the trees, strolling side by side with the Creator in the cool of the evening. No barriers, no guilt, just communion. It was paradise not because of the trees or the rivers, but because God was there, and the people he made were with him. The end of the beginning. Genesis chapter 2 is not just an old story, it is our story. It tells us that we were not made by accident, but by intention, that we were shaped by God's hands, filled with His breath, and placed on this earth to walk with Him, work with Him, and love like Him. It reminds us that even in a perfect world, we were never meant to be alone. That relationship, both with God and with one another, is at the heart of creation. Before the fall, before sin, before pain, there was Eden, a garden of peace, a man and a woman, and a God who walked with them in the cool of the day. This is where our journey begins, not in brokenness, but in beauty, not in death, but in life.